Hey, what's good, what's good, what's good? Welcome to D Smith Let's Discuss. Welcome to today's session. I found this video from Light Walker X, and he kind of explains why Kendrick waited to this old boy. Old boy been a fraud, old boy been a fake, old boy is extremely sensitive.
Drake's fake.
Sensitive. Extremely sensitive. So let's react to this video by Light Walker X. Shout out to you. Let's go. Welcome to the session.
The new Clips album on the way, with a confirmed Kendrick feature now attached, Pusha T continued to detail the behind-the-scenes shenanigans that took place in a recent interview with GQ. Def Jam, who is under UMG, was pleased with the Clips album, but feared that the optics of having Kendrick and Pusha, two people who beef with Drake, on the same song would look bad. They wanted to censor Kendrick's verse, and Pusha wasn't having it, so he paid 7 figures to Def Jam to get dropped, and after that, shopped the album around for a year before it landed on Roc Nation. Now the album is slated to be released in full on July 11th, despite all the craziness behind the scenes. With all of this happening, it made me think back to a question I've had for years. Why did it take so long for Kendrick and Drake to beef? And I think I may finally have the answer. For context, the Kendrick and Drake war goes all the way back to 2013, and I remember the day like it was yesterday. It was summertime. I was 15 years old at an amusement park with my family. And then I got the notification that something dropped. It was a song called Control by Big Sean featuring Kendrick and Jay Electronica. And the rest was history.
There goes Benjamin Cole, Big Crit, Wale, Pusha T, Meek Mills, A$AP Rocky, Drake, Big Sean, Jay Electron, Tyler, Mac Miller. I got love for you all, but I'm trying to murder you niggas.
I was just as much as a Kendrick fan back then in 2013 than I am now in 2025.
It's wild. He got extremely sensitive over those lyrics right there. He gave you some love, competition, and you get all in your feelings, all in your chest.
When I tell you, you just had to be there. 2013 was a crazy year for music, and an insane year for both Kendrick and Drake. God went scorched earth on Control, calling out the entire rap game, especially Mr. OVO. And Drake ended up coming back with, in my opinion, his last all-around great project, Nothing Was the Same, where Drake had return shots for Kendrick on the song called The Language.
I don't know why they been lying, but your shit is not that inspiring. Fuck any nigga that's talking that shit just to get a reaction. I am the kid with the motor mouth, I am the one you should worry about. I don't know who you're referring to, who is this nigga you heard about? Someone just talking that bullshit, man, someone just gave you to run around.
Dot would respond later in 2013 during a BET cypher where he again went scorched earth on Drake.
Yeah, and nothing been the same since they dropped Control and took the sensitive rapper back in his pajama clothes.
Extremely sensitive rapper, man. Oh my God.
And this is how the subliminal war pretty much went for the next decade. Both men would take shots on their respective albums, features, and other deep cuts. And while all this was happening, I always wondered to myself, why is it taking so long for the two of them to just beef already? Fast forward to 2024, and after years of sneak disses from both parties, Kendrick decided to jump fully in the ring first by dropping Like That, which baited both Drake and Cole into the rap feud, and we all know exactly how that ended.
Motherfucker, Big 3. Nigga, it's just Big Heat, nigga.
So now with Pusha T's recent interview, detailing the issues he faced behind the scenes post Story of Adidon, it had me thinking, is this the reason why Kendrick waited all these years to diss Drake? In my opinion, I think Dot was ready to feud with anyone, especially Drake back in 2013. And some would argue that Drake would have had a better chance had he entertained this earlier in his career. And even though I think Kendrick would have still beat him back then, I think Drake would have made a much better effort during that time, because he wasn't so far gone yet, no pun intended. Just by seeing how Drake handled the Control verse, it was already extremely telling, and it showed that he didn't understand the culture even earlier in his career. There was also that interview with ESPN and Marcellus Wiley, where Drake was apparently going off on Kendrick, which he had scrubbed from the record shortly after.
So we taped the interview with Drake. You know, we see full shot of Drake, we hit each other up like, that's he just kept talking trash about Kendrick. They got the video somewhere, so I wish they just let the shit go because it's out.
So from this is when old boy starts showing his bitchness, man. Be a man, stand up, stand on your word. Stand on your word or stand what you say. But you tucked tail and ran. You tucked tail and told ESPN do not release that. Coward. Cowardly lying. I'm right or wrong. You should have had it is what it is. I said it, now what? But you didn't do that.
But they probably burned them like the Spygate tapes or some shit like that.
Marcellus Wiley and Top Dog, the CEO of TDE, are good friends. So, could whatever Drake have said during that interview gotten back to Top and Kendrick? Or do you think the interviews that Drake gave after Dog's callouts were revealing enough?
And that verse was, he's giving people like moments, you know, like that verse was a moment to talk about. Are you listening to it now at this point in time?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I almost wish he had come in there on that shit because I kind of lost like a little respect for the sentiment of the verse.
Where is Drake at with Control?
I'm probably like as done as like the rest of the world is with that record. Like I think it came and it went, you know what I mean? And not to discredit it, like it was a good moment, but at the end of the day, it's just like, it was like one of those sort of like fleeting like Twitter frenzies that
Drake's fake. Drake's fake. Drake's fake.
like, it was cool for what it was.
Regardless, I can see Top sitting Kendrick down at some point in 2013 after Control was released, informing Kendrick that you're gonna have to go about this with strategy if you're coming to battle this guy, because the power he has behind the scenes is big, and he's extremely sensitive to what went down. Fast forward to 2015, and Drake gets into his first major rap beef with Meek Mill after Meek Mill exposed Drake for having ghostwriters. Meek was just coming out of prison at the time and had a hard time finding a studio in the city, which is what stifled his effort. Drake would drop Charged Up, his first response to Meek, and Meek played around like he wanted to make up. Then, Drake dropped back to back and finished Meek before he can even respond with his first song, Wanna Know.
Trigger fingers turn to Twitter fingers. Yeah, you getting body by a singing nigga.
Despite the ghostwriting allegations, this would propel Drake to his hitmaker status, and Drake went on a 2-year run performing back-to-back on his very successful tours that followed. The running joke everyone made after this beef was that Meek Mill's career wasn't the same again. Even after the two made up in 2018 and Meek dropping a solid project in Dream Chasers 4, Meek was never looked at the same again. Could this possibly be due to behind-the-scenes plays made by Drake to stifle Meek's career? And please remember.
So I like Meek music better than Drake. I do not listen to Drake at all. Cannot relate to that guy, man. That's just me. You guys might like it, but I don't.
Remember, guys, this is alleged. Drake always had power behind the scenes, and seeing how he even referenced that him and Lucien were Kobe and Shaq, it isn't a stretch to say that he used his privileges behind the scenes when he thought it was justified. I also always thought that Drake beefed with both Meek and Pusha T just to avoid beefing Kendrick, as the two were sneak dissing during this entire time as well. We now get to 2018 where Pusha T and Drake finally collide after years of subbing back and forth. Pusha T would release his 2018 album Daytona, produced by Kanye West, where he would drop the song Infrared, a Drake and Lil Wayne diss.
How could you ever right these wrongs when you don't even write your songs?
And it's a well-known fact that old boy do not write his songs. It's a well-known fact. He has a sweatshop of writers. Now, that's okay. But to be number one in this game, you have to have your own pen. Facts. It is what it is.
Drake would waste no time and respond with Dumpy Freestyle, a pretty decent response, but this was nothing compared to what was coming. Pusha T would drop the bomb, The Story of Adidon. The track reuses the instrumental from Jay-Z's The Story of OJ, which was produced by No ID and sampled For Women by Nina Simone.
Confused, always thought you weren't black enough. Afraid to grow it cause your fro wouldn't nap enough.
Its lyrics target Drake revealing the existence of his secret child, Adonis, and accusing him of hiding his son from the public while exploiting black culture and for commercial gain. Pusha T also made allegations about Drake's producer 40 and his health conditions. The song was released on SoundCloud, most likely to avoid clearance.
They mention why it does Drake have a daughter out there. Some people on the internet have proven this, but who knows, man? You know he lied. He's a habitual liar, so you never know.
Issues and other legalities. The Story of Adidon was met with widespread acclaim from music critics, many of whom praised Pusha T's lyricism and fearlessness. Complex called the first verse the best rap verse of 2018, which other publications called it the most devastating blow in the ongoing feud between the two rappers. In 2024, Billboard named it as the second most scathing hip-hop diss of all time. The cover art for the track, featuring a controversial image of Drake in blackface, added to its shock value and public debate. After a month of speculation, Drake confirmed he did indeed have a son in lyrics from his 5th studio album, Scorpion. He ultimately did not respond to the diss track, and the rest was history. Pusha's Story of Adidon was eventually taken down by UMG, but can still be found on YouTube via re-uploads. Now, Pusha T only started having issues behind the scenes releasing music in 2018, the same year The Story of Adidon was released. There was one instance where Rick Ross, Pusha, and Lil Wayne had a song set to release, but Pusha was mysteriously dropped from the song after calls were made. Rick Ross stated in an interview that he was the one that decided to take Pusha T off Maybach Music 6. He wanted to get Wayne and Push on the same record, but thought it was too early. Some people allege that at this time, Drake used his connections and friendship with Rick Ross to get him off the song, as Drake was also on the same Rick Ross album.
I mean, what I did was I put together a record, and it ultimately came down to what would the vibe be if I was to release this record. Would this help move forward and end the tension between these two, young icons? Because ultimately, that's what I want to see.
Another example was during Pop Smoke's posthumous album, which was under Republic Records. There was a Pusha T verse on one of the songs, but then it was suddenly taken off. The label eventually threatened to not release the album in its entirety just because Pusha was on the song. Young Thug even made an Instagram story about this issue, thinking that it was a full-on diss track. Remember, Thug is a good friend of Drake, and even the wording of his story seems like Thug himself knows of the power that Drake has behind the scenes, which is probably why he did not want to risk losing his friend and making an enemy out of him. Now, industry people talk behind the scenes, so while Dot was recharging during the early 2020s, I believe he knew exactly all the issues Pusha T faced post his battle with Drake. Kendrick must have known that if he was eventually going to clash with Drake, he would need to be extremely strategic, given how he is allegedly act behind the scenes. At the start of 2020, Kendrick and Dave Free started PG Lang, their own multimedia company, and after the release of Mr. Morale in 2022, Kendrick and Dave Free would leave TDE. At the time, many people speculated this could be due to ongoing issues between Kendrick and Top, but little did we know this was a small chess move in a grander game of war. Did Kendrick wait to complete his contract with TDE before deciding to engage with Drake? Given the information we know and things we don't know, Kendrick could have thought going out on his own would be better than doing it under TDE, which would put his label and label mates in the fire as well. Seeing how he strategized so well during the battle, is it a stretch to say he strategized this whole thing as well? The first clip in the Not Like Us music video is of a courthouse. So does this insinuate that Kendrick always had a feeling that Drake would take it to court?
So I'm pretty sure when you're in the industry, all these relationships, word gets around, old boy sensitive, old boy will sue, old boy will do this, old boy do that. Over the years, you get a reputation for how an individual acts, move, and Kendrick Lamar knew the extremely sensitive rapper will take these steps. It is what it is. That's why when Kendrick Lamar, PG Lang signed with Interscope, there are specific clauses in the contract. specific clauses. I'm not sure what it was, but I'm pretty sure Kendrick Lamar is a smart guy. Drake is a dumb guy. Oh, Drake is smart. Drake is completely dumb. Kendrick Lamar knew what he was getting himself into and won the battle and changed hip-hop forever.
For ya, we heard Kendrick mention that Drake sent a cease and desist for Like That. Metro Boomin would confirm himself during the beef.
A cease and desist is for hoes. Can't listen to lies that come out of your mouth.
It was also mentioned in the docket filings for Drake's defamation lawsuit that Drake wanted to get Not Like Us originally censored upon release. And it seems that when UMG did not comply, Drake would take drastic measures which would lead to the lawsuit against him. Kendrick Lamar's diss tracks against Drake in 2024, including Not Like Us, were released under his own name through Interscope Records, rather than through PG Lang, his creative company. For instance, Not Like Us was credited as 2024 Kendrick Lamar under his exclusive licensing to Interscope Records. This strategic choice appears to have been made to separate the diss tracks from PG Lang's brand identity. By releasing the diss tracks independently, Lamar likely aimed to shield PG Lang from potential legal risks associated with the controversy surrounding the feud. In contrast, Lamar's sixth studio album GNX, which also included the songs Heart Part 6 and Squabble Up, was released through both PG Lang and Interscope. This underscores Lamar's intent to keep his personal artistic expressions separate from PG Lang's broader creative endeavors. Therefore, while PG Lang was involved in the release of GNX, the diss tracks aimed at Drake were deliberately released under his own name via Interscope Records to maintain a clear distinction between his personal artistic statements and PG Lang's brand. Fast forward to 2025, and we now have this interview detailing the years of issues Pusha and his team had to deal with as Def Jam wanted to do the same thing to Kendrick that they did to him. It seems like beefing with Drake comes with a lot of post-career issues, which is insane to think because in most of these instances, he was the aggressor or the antagonizer, using his behind-the-scenes power to stifle artists he has issues with. Both Drake and UMG are at fault for this behavior because they have been clearly coddling him for years now. So it all makes sense as to why Drake sued UMG, because it's clear they have used ill practices on other artists in the past, especially in his favor. And when they refuse to do it for Kendrick, he lashes out and files a lawsuit, probably believing in his head that there's no way that Kendrick could have beaten him organically because UMG has played a huge part in manufacturing his own success. With this interview, we now know that UMG and Def Jam were censoring Kendrick from last year, and this was out of fear due to having Pusha T and Kendrick on a song together. This has to debunk
scary ass. Scary ass. Dude was scared. Dude was scared, terrified. Drake is fake.
Theory that Kendrick was colluding with UMG to defame Drake because UMG just showed you that they're willing to stop Kendrick from releasing to protect Drake. There are no confirmed disses on this song or album, but the pairing of the two...
I can't wait to the court case. I can't wait to the court case, boy. I can't wait.
Was enough for Def Jam to not want it to happen. This entire beef proved one thing. The labels have been treating Drake as the standard in hip-hop, and that was a grave mistake. No one artist should ever define the boundaries of the culture. Hip-hop has always been bigger than any other rapper. It's a living, breathing force, everlasting, unstoppable, and constantly evolving, no matter who's at the top. Even with all of Kendrick's precision, timing, and preparation, we still ended up with a lawsuit over a diss track. Just let that sink in.
Man, just let that sink in, man. That is wild. Let that sink in. So all this is theory, alleged. Don't take it serious. Have some fun with this this type of stuff right here. But hey, welcome to the session. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what's your opinion.